Have you ever tried to change a habit or improve yourself and found it almost impossible to stay consistent? Have you felt stuck in the same routines, repeating the same mistakes, and wondered why motivation fades just when you need it most? Today, you will discover practical ways to take control of your behavior, to act even when you don't feel like it, and to build lasting habits that truly support your goals. This is not about willpower alone or waiting to feel inspired. It's about understanding your mind, recognizing patterns, and making deliberate choices that move you forward every single day. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to interrupt old habits, push yourself when motivation is low, and create routines that transform your life step by step. Every tip you learn today can be applied immediately to start seeing change. Chapter 1. Recognize your patterns and decide to change them today. You know, when you stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself with complete honesty, something powerful begins to happen. Not the kind of honesty where you excuse your behavior or try to make it look better than it is, but the kind where you say to yourself, "This is what I do every day. This is how I act. This is what I keep repeating. And this is where it keeps taking me." That moment is the starting point of real change. Because you cannot transform what you refuse to see, and you cannot grow from a pattern you deny. Every one of us has patterns: the way we wake up, the way we react when something goes wrong, the way we respond to stress, the way we deal with doubt, the way we handle work, the way we handle relationships. Most people never stop long enough to see these patterns clearly. Life keeps moving fast. Responsibilities pile up. Days blend into weeks, and before they know it, the same old behavior creates the same old results. Then they feel stuck. They feel confused. They wonder why life is not changing. But life cannot change if behavior stays the same. And behavior cannot change if your patterns stay invisible. So today is the day you bring those patterns to the surface. Today is the day you stop running on autopilot and start paying attention to what you do and why you do it. Behavior is not random. It comes from thoughts, beliefs, fears, memories, and comfort zone. It comes from the feeling of wanting to stay safe. It comes from years of repetition. And unless you recognize your patterns, they will always control you quietly from the background. Think about your mornings. Do you wake up with a clear mind, or do you reach for your phone right away? Do you start your day with purpose, or do you drift into it without direction? Think about your choices during the day. Do you do the hard things first, or do you avoid them and choose what feels easy? When frustration shows up, do you shut down, or do you face it? When you feel tired, do you keep your promises, or do you give yourself excuses? These small behaviors reveal the deeper patterns driving your life. Most people want change, but they skip this first step. They try to change without understanding themselves. They try to fix their actions while ignoring the root. And then they wonder why the change doesn't last. A new life cannot grow from an old pattern. You must see the pattern before you can break it. You must understand the pattern before you can redesign it. There is something powerful about acknowledging the truth of your own behavior. It gives you control. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It tells your mind, "I am awake now. I am aware. I see what I do, and I will not live blind anymore." Recognition is not weakness, it is strength. It is maturity. It is the starting point of self-respect. Some people fear looking at their patterns because they think it will make them feel guilty. But this is not about guilt. This is about responsibility. This is about courage. This is about choosing to move forward. You cannot be afraid of your own behavior. You must face it with clarity. You must face it with honesty. and you must face it with a decision that says, I will not keep repeating the things that hold me back. Think about the areas where you feel stuck. Maybe you want to grow in your career, but your pattern is postponing important tasks. Maybe you want to improve your health, but your pattern is delaying the start of better habits. Maybe you want stronger relationships, but your pattern is reacting quickly when you feel hurt. Maybe you want peace, but your pattern is staying around people or environments that drain you. Every struggle is connected to a pattern, and every pattern can be changed once you recognize it. Awareness is not just about thinking, it is about feeling too. When you observe your patterns, notice how they affect your emotions. Notice how you feel after repeating a behavior that no longer serves you. Notice the heaviness. Notice the frustration. Notice the regret that whispers, you could have done better. These emotions are not your enemies. They are signals telling you that something inside wants to grow. People often ask, how do I change my behavior? The answer begins with this. Decide that the old way is no longer acceptable. Decide that the pattern that has been running your life stops today. Decide that your future deserves a new version of your behavior. Change starts with a decision. A real decision. Not a wish. Not a hope. A decision that comes from clarity. A decision that comes from understanding your own behavior. When you see your patterns clearly, something inside you shifts. You stop blaming the world. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop blaming other people. You realize that your daily actions shape your future. You realize that your habits tell your story. You realize that every decision you make either moves you closer to the life you want or keeps you stuck in the life you want to leave. This is why recognizing your patterns is so powerful. It gives you the ability to rewrite your story. It gives you the power to choose a different path. Once you see what holds you back, you cannot unsee it. You cannot ignore it. You cannot pretend it does not matter. Awareness pushes you to act. Awareness pushes you to improve. Awareness pushes you to grow. Take a moment right now and think about what you repeat daily that does not serve you. Think about the thoughts you entertain that drain your energy. Think about the choices you make that take you away from your goals. Think about the behaviors you fall into when you feel stressed or tired. These patterns have been shaping your life quietly. Now it is time to bring them into the light. Some people wait for a crisis before they examine their behavior. Some wait until the pain becomes too much. But you do not have to wait. You can make the decision today. You can choose to look at your life with honesty and say, I want better, and to build better, I must become better. That is the beginning of change. You do not need to feel ashamed of your patterns. You just need to understand them. Every pattern came from somewhere. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was survival. Maybe it was comfort. Maybe it was influence from the people around you. But now you are older. Now you are wiser. Now you have the power to decide what stays and what goes. Change does not happen through pressure. It happens through understanding. When you know why you act a certain way, you also know how to shift that behavior. When you understand what triggers your actions, you understand how to take control over them. That is how real motivation is built. Not from hype, not from energy that fades, but from clarity that lasts. You can change your behavior. You can break old patterns. You can create new habits. You can reshape your daily life. But it begins with recognition. It begins with the courage to see yourself clearly. And once you see yourself clearly, you gain the strength to change anything that no longer fits the life you want to build. So today, decide to recognize your patterns. Decide to understand them. Decide to take responsibility for them, and decide to change them, because your future depends on the choices you make now. And the first choice is awareness. The first step is honesty. The first move is saying, I see what I do,
and today I choose a better way.
Chapter 2. Accept your flaws and choose a better daily direction. When you begin the process of changing your life, one of the most important steps you will ever take is learning how to accept your flaws without running from them. Not to judge yourself, not to tear yourself down, but to see yourself clearly. Most people want growth without honesty. They want progress without self-reflection. They want a better life without looking at the behavior that created the life they currently have. But real transformation begins when you stop hiding from the parts of yourself that need attention. When you accept your flaws, not as a lifetime sentence, but as areas you are ready to strengthen, you open the door to a better direction. There is something deeply human about having flaws. Every person you admire has them. Every person who has achieved something meaningful had to face their weaknesses at some point. What separates people who grow from those who stay stuck is the willingness to acknowledge the truth about themselves. You cannot build a new path while pretending you have nothing to change. You cannot upgrade your life while protecting habits that keep you stuck. When you accept your flaws, you stop fighting yourself, and you start working with yourself. Acceptance does not mean you are satisfied with the way things are. It means you are aware of where you stand. Awareness gives you power. It gives you control. It gives you clarity. When you look at your flaws directly, you discover the reasons behind your behavior. You begin to understand why you hesitate, why you postpone things, why you get overwhelmed, why you fall into the same patterns over and over again. You learn what influences your decisions. You learn what limits you. And once you understand these things, you can finally choose a direction that helps you grow instead of keeping you trapped. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Many people avoid the truth because it makes them uncomfortable. But discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is a signal that you are ready for growth. When you admit that you get distracted easily, you can start practicing focus. When you admit that you avoid difficult conversations, you can start building courage. When you admit that you break promises to yourself, you can start strengthening your discipline. Change begins with honesty, not perfection. There is strength in saying, "This is an area I need to improve." That sentence alone carries maturity. It carries responsibility. It carries the mindset of someone who is ready to evolve. Too many people waste years defending their weaknesses instead of working on them. They spend their energy convincing themselves that they are fine the way they are, even when they feel stuck, frustrated, or unfulfilled. But there is a different path, a more empowering one. The moment you accept your flaws, you give yourself permission to rise above them. Once you accept what needs work, the next step is choosing a better daily direction, not a perfect life plan, not a dramatic overnight change. A direction, a path you commit to walking every single day. A direction gives you structure. It gives you purpose. It gives you something to follow when emotions shift or motivation fades. People fail not because they are weak, but because they move without direction. They rely on feelings instead of commitment. They wait for the right moment instead of creating it. Choosing a daily direction means you wake up with intention instead of drifting. A better direction is not complicated. It is simple, clear, and doable. It is made of real actions you can take today, not dreams that only exist in your mind. You do not need to fix your entire life in one day. You only need to choose the next right step. For example, if you have a pattern of avoiding hard tasks, your better direction might be doing one difficult thing early in the day. If you have a habit of being overwhelmed, your better direction might be breaking your tasks into smaller steps. If you have trouble staying consistent, your better direction might be showing up for 10 minutes even when you don't feel like it. When the direction is clear, the behavior becomes easier. Most people do not fail because of lack of ability. They fail because of confusion. They don't know where they are going. They don't know what they want to change. They don't know what action matters most. But when you choose a direction, you simplify your life. You reduce noise. You reduce wasted energy. You create a system that supports your growth. And once you build that system, your daily choices start to align with the person you want to become. When you commit to a better direction, you are not promising perfection. You are promising movement. You are promising progress. You are promising yourself that you will not remain the same. Changing your behavior is not about becoming flawless. It is about becoming intentional. It is about taking ownership of your decisions. It is about recognizing that your life is shaped by the actions you repeat, not the intentions you imagine. A better direction requires discipline, but not force. Discipline is the art of guiding yourself, not punishing yourself. It is the commitment to keep going, even when your mind tries to negotiate with you. It is the promise you make to yourself that your growth matters more than your excuses. When you have direction, discipline becomes easier. You no longer wake up wondering what to do. You know what matters. You know the next action. You know the step that takes you forward instead of backward. Accepting your flaws and choosing a better direction also creates emotional freedom. You stop carrying the weight of pretending to be perfect. You stop stressing over mistakes. You stop fearing judgment. You realize that growth is not about looking strong. It is about becoming strong. It is about becoming honest with yourself in a way that gives you confidence instead of anxiety. The moment you accept your flaws, you stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as someone capable of improvement. There is power in being real with yourself. When you stop denying your weaknesses, you open space to build your strength. When you stop defending your old habits, you create room for new ones. When you stop trying to hide your imperfections, you make it easier to fix them. People grow fastest when they are honest with where they are and clear about where they want to go. Choosing a better direction also means choosing what you allow into your life. The people you keep around, the habits you practice, the routines you follow, the thoughts you entertain. Direction shapes your environment, and your environment shapes your behavior. You cannot expect growth while surrounding yourself with things that pull you back. You cannot expect discipline while keeping habits that kill your focus. You cannot expect progress while living the same day repeatedly. A better direction requires better choices in the smallest parts of your day. Every time you choose a better direction, even in a small way, you reinforce your belief in yourself. Each step builds confidence. Each choice strengthens self-respect. Each action reminds you that you are capable of change. This is how motivation grows, not from waiting to feel inspired, but from proving to yourself that you can do what you said you would do. The more you act, the more motivated you feel. The more you follow your direction, the more your behavior transforms. When you accept your flaws, you also accept your potential. You realize that flaws are not limitations. They are signals. They show you where to work. They point to the areas ready for growth. Every flaw has the potential to evolve into a strength once you take responsibility for it. The fear of looking at your flaws disappears when you understand that they are not reflections of your worth. They are reminders that you are human and capable of improvement. There is nothing more powerful than a person who knows themselves, a person who accepts their flaws without letting them define their future, a person who chooses a direction instead of drifting, a person who wakes up each day with a quiet decision that says, "I will do better today." That kind of person changes their behavior not through pressure, but through purpose. Your life will begin to shift the moment you accept who you are right now and choose who you want to become next. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need to know every step. You only need honesty and direction. Honesty shows you what to work on. Direction shows you where to go. Together, they build a new you. Make the decision today to accept your flaws without shame and choose a better daily direction without hesitation. Your behavior will follow your choices.
Your choices will follow your clarity, and your clarity starts right here, right now, when you decide that you deserve a better path, and you are ready to walk it.
Chapter 3. Face your triggers and replace them with healthier actions. There comes a point in your personal growth when you must stop escaping the things that set off your worst behavior and begin facing them with clarity. Every person has triggers. Triggers are those specific moments, thoughts, or situations that make you act in ways you later regret. It might be someone's tone of voice. It might be pressure at work. It might be feeling ignored. It might be the fear of failing. It might be the memory of past experiences that still affect how you respond today. The important thing is not whether you have triggers. Everyone does. The important thing is how you deal with them. Growth begins when you face them directly, instead of giving them silent control over your actions. Most people try to avoid the things that trigger them. They distract themselves. They walk away from anything that feels uncomfortable. They pretend the problem doesn't exist. But avoidance does not solve anything. Avoidance keeps you in the same cycle. You keep reacting the same way. You keep repeating the same behavior. You keep getting the same results. And eventually, you realize the trigger is not the real problem. The real problem is the response you choose every time the trigger appears. When something triggers you, it exposes an area of your life that needs attention, and instead of running from it, you must start understanding it. Think about how many times you promised yourself you would not react a certain way again, yet when the trigger showed up, your behavior followed the old pattern. That happens because triggers work fast. They catch you before you think. They push you toward the same automatic response you have practiced for years. But once you recognize what triggers your behavior, you gain the ability to slow the moment down. You gain the ability to examine what is happening inside you. You gain the ability to decide how you want to respond instead of acting without control. Facing your triggers requires courage. It requires honesty. It requires patience. You have to observe your reactions closely. You have to notice the physical feelings, the thoughts that rise, the emotions that push you. You might feel tension in your chest. You might feel your heart speed up. You might feel anger building. You might feel fear creeping in. These sensations are signs that your trigger has been activated. Instead of letting those sensations direct your behavior, pause and recognize them. Give yourself a moment to understand what is happening inside you. That pause is the beginning of taking control. When you face a trigger, ask yourself simple questions. What exactly set me off? Why did this affect me so strongly? What do I usually do in this situation? What outcome do I want instead? These questions create awareness. They help you break the automatic cycle. They teach you that the trigger itself does not control your life. Your response does. Once you understand the trigger, you can replace the action that follows it. Replacing your reactions with healthier actions is not about ignoring your feelings. It is about redirecting your energy into something that supports your growth. For example, if stress triggers you to overthink, replace that with taking a short break to breathe and clear your mind. If disappointment triggers anger, replace it with expressing yourself calmly. If loneliness triggers unhealthy habits, replace it with reaching out to someone who brings positivity into your life. If pressure triggers procrastination, replace it with doing the smallest possible step to keep yourself moving. The replacement action does not have to be dramatic. It only needs to be healthier than what you used to do. The key to replacing your reactions is practicing consistency. A trigger that has shaped your behavior for years will not disappear after one good response. It takes repeated effort. Think of it as training your mind to take a new path. Every time you choose the healthier action, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. And with time, the new action becomes more natural, more automatic, more aligned with who you want to be. Facing your triggers also helps you understand yourself better. You learn what hurts you. You learn what makes you shut down. You learn what makes you act impulsively. You learn what steals your calm. You learn what needs healing. This kind of self-awareness creates emotional strength. It helps you respond to life with maturity rather than impulse. You become someone who does not lose control when things get difficult. You become someone who can handle pressure without falling apart. You become someone who can think clearly even in uncomfortable moments. A healthier action is not always about doing something physical. Sometimes a healthier action is choosing a different thought. When a trigger shows up, your mind often jumps to the worst conclusion. It expects negativity. It expects failure. It expects rejection. Replacing a trigger reaction can mean choosing a calmer thought like, I can deal with this, or this moment does not control my entire day. A simple change in thought can lead to a completely different behavior. Triggers also show you the importance of boundaries. When certain people or environments trigger unhealthy reactions in you, it might be time to create distance. Not to punish anyone, but to protect your growth. You cannot heal in places that keep activating the behavior you are trying to change. By facing your triggers, you learn which parts of your life need limits, and which parts need improvement. That clarity is powerful. It helps you build a life that supports your best behavior, instead of encouraging your worst. There is strength in knowing your triggers. Most people feel weak because of them. But the truth is the opposite. When you understand what affects you, you become harder to control. You make better decisions. You act with intention. You stay grounded even when the situation tries to unsettle you. Facing your triggers gives you control over your inner world. And when you control your inner world, the outer world can no longer push you around. Replacing your reactions with healthier actions also changes the way you see yourself. Each time you handle a trigger with maturity, you build trust in yourself. You begin to believe that you can stay calm even when things feel intense. You begin to believe that you can stay focused even when you feel challenged. You begin to believe that you can choose better behavior even when your emotions run high. This self-trust becomes a foundation for growth. It becomes the source of your confidence. One of the most important parts of facing triggers is understanding that you are not trying to eliminate them. Triggers may never fully disappear. They may show up again and again, but they lose their power when you respond differently. They no longer control you. They no longer direct your behavior. You become stronger than the situation. You become more aware than the reaction. You become the one who decides what happens next. You must treat each trigger as an opportunity to grow. When frustration rises, use it to practice patience. When fear appears, use it to practice courage. When doubt emerges, use it to practice belief. When discomfort shows up, use it to practice strength. These moments are not setbacks. They are training sessions. They are moments that prepare you for a stronger version of yourself. Many people believe change requires motivation. But when it comes to triggers, change requires responsibility. It requires the decision to face the uncomfortable truth about your reactions. It requires the willingness to interrupt the old pattern and bring in a healthier one. It requires patience to stay consistent, even when the process feels slow. And it requires understanding that the work you do in these moments is building a better version of you. Once you replace your old reactions with healthier actions, your life begins to shift. Conversations become calmer,
Decisions become clearer. Stress becomes easier to manage. Conflict becomes easier to navigate. You start respecting yourself more. You start respecting your growth more. People around you notice the difference. They see that you handle things with more maturity, more clarity, more balance. You become someone others can rely on. You become someone you can rely on. Facing your triggers is not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. It is the gateway to emotional strength. It is the path to better decisions. It is the foundation of consistent behavior change. You do not grow by avoiding what bothers you. You grow by understanding it, facing it, and choosing a healthier response. This is how you take control of your life. This is how you break old cycles. This is how you shape your behavior into something that supports your goals instead of blocking them. Every time you face your triggers, you rise above your past self. Every time you replace your reaction with a healthier action, you upgrade your character. And every time you do this, you move one step closer to the person you want to become. Make the decision to face your triggers with honesty. Make the decision to replace your old reactions with healthier choices. And make the decision to continue doing this every day. Because this is the work that builds a strong mind, a strong heart, and a strong life. Your growth starts the moment you choose to stop avoiding your triggers and start mastering them.
Chapter 4. Challenge your comfort and build strength through small choices. When you really look at your life honestly, you'll notice that the moments that shaped you the most were not the easy ones. They were the small, uncomfortable decisions you made when nobody was watching. Those odd seconds when your mind whispered stay the same, but something deeper inside nudged you forward instead. The truth is, growth rarely arrives in dramatic scenes. It comes in tiny choices that pull you away from the comfort you've been hiding in for years. And the irony is, comfort looks harmless on the surface, but it slowly becomes a cage big enough to walk around in yet too small for your potential to breathe. That is why challenging your comfort isn't about punishing yourself, it's about creating space for who you're capable of becoming. Most people don't notice how comfort trains them. It teaches you to avoid effort, to delay things until tomorrow, to look for shortcuts instead of discipline. It gives you permission to stay exactly where you are while convincing you that you're safe, simply because nothing hurts. But the quiet cost is that nothing moves either. The mind becomes soft, the spirit becomes timid, and your instincts begin choosing what feels familiar instead of what pushes you to grow. Over time, this becomes a pattern you don't even question. You start living inside a cycle of repeated days, thinking you're choosing peace, but really you're choosing avoidance. And avoidance never builds strength. It only builds regret. Strength is built in those small decisions that seem insignificant at the moment. Getting out of bed when the blanket feels warm, going for a walk when your mood is low, practicing a skill even when you're bad at it, choosing a meaningful task over an easy distraction. These choices don't look powerful when they happen, but each one trains your brain to take responsibility instead of escaping into comfort. Each one teaches you that you can do more than you feel like doing. And that lesson, repeated in tiny doses, becomes the foundation of real confidence. People often talk about wanting a stronger mind, a stronger will, a stronger life. But strength doesn't appear by reading motivational words or imagining a better version of yourself. Strength is built the same way muscles are built, through resistance. You have to push against something. Sometimes that something is your laziness. Sometimes it's your fear. Sometimes it's your doubt. And sometimes it's simply your habit of choosing the easiest path. Every time you push against it, even if it's just for a few minutes, you're shaping a different version of yourself. You're proving that your actions aren't controlled by momentary moods or impulses. The comfort zone feels safe because it protects you from failure, but it also protects you from success. Everything meaningful requires a little discomfort, learning, changing, improving, healing, evolving. None of these things feel effortless in the beginning. That's why so many people stay stuck. They wait for courage before taking action, not realizing that courage is actually created through action. Waiting doesn't make you stronger. Movement does. Even slow movement, even imperfect movement, even movement that feels awkward or uncertain. What matters is that you're training your mind to not freeze every time something feels slightly uncomfortable. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start asking, "Will doing this bring me closer to the person I want to become?" The first question keeps you trapped in emotional decisions. The second question places your future self at the center of your choices. It's not about becoming a machine, it's about giving your life direction that isn't dictated by fleeting feelings. Feelings are temporary, but the impact of your decisions is long-lasting. When you begin choosing what aligns with your growth, rather than what feels easy, you create momentum that transforms your identity without forcing anything. You don't need to make massive changes overnight. In fact, small, stable habits are far more powerful than sudden intensity that you can't maintain. Start with something that slightly challenges you each day. Wake up a bit earlier. Read for 10 minutes. Walk instead of scrolling. Say no when you typically give in. Push through one extra rep. Do one more uncomfortable thing that builds your discipline instead of your excuses. These tiny choices may sound simple, but they accumulate. They create a quiet kind of strength. A strength that doesn't brag, doesn't rush, doesn't seek validation. It grows inside you, making you more capable and harder to break. When you challenge your comfort, you begin discovering parts of yourself that comfort never let you meet. You notice you're more resilient than you thought, more focused than you believed, more determined than you ever gave yourself credit for. You learn to tolerate discomfort without panicking. You learn to push through boredom without quitting. You learn to stay committed even when motivation disappears. This is where real growth begins. When you stop relying on emotional highs and start relying on your own structure. A strong life is built on the willingness to be uncomfortable for the sake of your future. Think about how many opportunities you've lost because comfort convinced you to stay still. Think about how many ideas you postponed, how many dreams you watered down, how many moments you let slip simply because it felt easier to stay the same. The past cannot be changed, but your direction can. And that direction isn't set by big dramatic decisions. It's set by the hundreds of tiny choices you make in quiet moments. If you want to build strength, you have to make peace with discomfort, not in a harsh way, not by punishing yourself, but by understanding that growth and ease cannot coexist. You can't become mentally stronger if everything you do is designed to avoid effort. You can't develop discipline while living in constant negotiation with your excuses. You can't create a powerful future if your present habits make you weaker every day. Growth demands a price, but it's never too high. The real cost is staying the same. Small choices reshape your identity slowly but permanent. The moment you choose a slightly harder path, you begin forming a mindset that trusts your ability to handle difficulty. That mindset then influences your next decision, and the next, and the next. With time, the person you once were becomes almost unrecognizable, not because you changed overnight, but because you kept choosing a different direction in tiny, consistent ways. You don't need to fight your entire life story. You only need to win the next small moment. The moment you choose to act instead of delay. The moment you decide to try instead of complain. The moment you show up even when you'd rather shrink back. These moments, repeated day after day, build a strength that comfort can never offer. Strength that stays with you in hard times. Strength that helps you navigate uncertainty. Strength that protects your future instead of trapping you in old patterns. You are not weak, you're simply untrained in the discipline of choosing discomfort with purpose. But once you begin practicing it, you'll notice shifts that feel almost unbelievable. You'll think more clearly, you'll follow through more consistently.
You'll trust yourself more deeply. You'll stop running from challenges and start facing them with a quiet confidence. And most importantly, you'll feel alive again. Because growth gives life its meaning, while comfort only gives temporary relief. Your next chapter doesn't require massive changes. It requires courage in small decisions. It requires the willingness to stretch a little beyond what feels easy today, so you can become someone stronger tomorrow. Your life is not shaped by the comfort you keep. It's shaped by the challenges you choose. And every small, uncomfortable step you take becomes a brick in the identity you're building. Stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more capable, and more aligned with who you were always meant to be.
Chapter 5. Control your attention and guide it toward useful behavior. Every change you want to make in your life begins with your attention. Not your time, not your motivation, not your talent. Your attention. Wherever your attention rests, your behavior follows. And most people lose control of their lives, not because they lack potential, but because their attention is constantly being pulled in directions that weaken them. They give their focus away to noise, distractions, impulsive thoughts, and temporary emotions. Over time, this drains their energy, breaks their discipline, and clouds their decision-making until they feel like they're living life on autopilot. When you don't guide your attention, life becomes reactive. You respond to whatever appears in front of you instead of choosing what truly matters for your growth. Your attention is the steering wheel of your mind. If it turns toward negativity, you feel hopeless. If it turns toward excuses, you feel stuck. If it turns toward meaningless distractions, you waste days without realizing what you're losing. But if you can learn to direct your attention toward actions that build you, not entertain you, not distract you, not numb you, but genuinely build you, you unlock a version of yourself that feels more stable, more grounded, and more capable of shaping your future. A person who controls their attention becomes intentional instead of emotional. The difficult part is that we live in a world designed to steal your attention. Your mind is constantly bombarded by notifications, content, opinions, temptations, and noise. Everything is built to keep you engaged, scrolling, consuming, and reacting. You are trained to chase stimulation instead of clarity. And that constant stimulation exhausts the brain. It becomes harder to focus, harder to think deeply, harder to follow through on your plans. You begin prioritizing whatever is loudest, not whatever is most meaningful. That's why so many people feel overwhelmed, even when they haven't done anything truly meaningful with their day. Their attention is scattered into hundreds of tiny pieces instead of being placed on one or two important things that could move their life forward. Regaining control of your attention starts with understanding that your mind will always drift unless you anchor it. The mind does not stay still, it gravitates toward whatever is easiest. And the easiest things are usually the least valuable. Mindless entertainment, trivial distractions, anxiety loops, old habits, and familiar emotional reactions. When you're not aware of this, you end up feeding the very patterns that weaken your self-control. But when you become conscious of where your attention is going, you begin catching yourself in those small moments, those split seconds, when your brain tries to escape something challenging by running towards something comfortable. And the moment you notice it, you reclaim power that used to slip through your fingers without you seeing it. A huge part of controlling your attention is learning to interrupt the automatic responses your mind uses to comfort itself. For example, when boredom hits, many people instantly grab their phone. When stress comes, they seek distraction. When fear rises, they look for escape. These reactions feel harmless, but they create a habit of avoiding presence. They teach the brain to turn away from discomfort instead of guiding it toward useful action. This is how procrastination grows. Not because the task is impossible, but because your attention gets hijacked by easier alternatives. To break this pattern, you must train yourself to pause before reacting. A small pause creates space, and in that space, you can redirect your attention instead of letting it wander wherever it wants. Another part of guiding your attention is choosing your mental diet carefully. Just like your body becomes what you eat, your mind becomes what it consumes. If you feed it negativity, your thoughts become pessimistic. If you feed it chaos, your emotions feel unstable. If you feed it useless noise, your clarity disappears. But if you give your attention to things that expand your thinking, challenge your comfort, inspire discipline, and spark meaningful action, your inner world becomes stronger. This is why some people feel mentally sharp, even in difficult times. They consistently guide their attention toward what strengthens them, instead of letting it drift toward distractions that drain them. Guiding your attention also means becoming aware of the emotional traps that pull you away from useful behavior. The mind loves to replay past mistakes, worry about imagined problems, and entertain doubts that have no evidence. These thoughts don't make you wiser, they just exhaust your emotional energy. The mind naturally amplifies fear and minimizes possibility because its job is to protect you, not expand you. So when you're trying to change your life, your mind often becomes your biggest obstacle. Not because it hates improvement, but because it sees anything unfamiliar as a threat. If you let these emotional loops control your attention, they sabotage your progress before you even begin. But once you recognize these loops as mental noise rather than truth, you can shift your attention back to actions that actually move your life forward. One of the strongest ways to guide your attention is to give it a clear target every day. When you wake up without a direction, your mind becomes vulnerable to anything that demands your focus. The world chooses your priorities instead of you choosing your own. But when you start the day with intention, even a small, simple intention, your attention has a path. And once your attention has a pathway, your actions follow. You don't need a complex plan. Sometimes one meaningful task is enough to anchor your mind and prevent it from drifting into unproductive patterns. Another powerful technique is to simplify your environment. Your surroundings shape your attention far more than you realize. If your environment is cluttered, your mind becomes cluttered. If you surround yourself with distractions, your focus becomes fragmented. If you keep things within reach that tempt you into avoidance, you reinforce weak patterns. But when you create an environment where the easiest things to access are aligned with your goals, guiding your attention becomes almost effortless. Your surroundings begin supporting your growth instead of sabotaging. When you learn to control your attention, you begin seeing a shift in your emotional state as well. You feel less stressed because your mind isn't constantly jumping between thoughts. You feel calmer because your attention isn't scattered across things you can't control. You feel more confident because your focus is placed on actions rather than fears. You feel more motivated because your attention is directed toward progress, not distractions. These changes don't come from motivation, they come from intentional focus. Useful behavior starts with the smallest adjustment in where you place your attention. For instance, instead of focusing on how hard something will be, shift your attention to the benefit of doing it. Instead of focusing on how far you have to go, focus on the next small step. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on what you can control. Instead of focusing on the discomfort, focus on the growth it will create. The situation doesn't change, but your attention does, and that change in attention changes everything. Control of attention isn't about being rigid or emotionless. It's about recognizing that your life improves the moment your attention stops serving your impulses and starts serving your purpose. Whenever you catch your mind drifting into habits that don't serve you, gently pull it back. Not with shame, not with judgment, but with awareness. Because awareness is the first step to mastery. And mastery doesn't mean perfection, it means consistent redirection. The more you guide your attention toward useful behavior, the more natural it becomes. Over time you won't have to force yourself to focus.
You'll simply be someone who is naturally more focused. You won't have to constantly battle distraction. You'll be someone whose mind knows where to go. This is how discipline is built. This is how direction is created. This is how your identity shifts quietly, steadily, powerfully. Your attention is the most valuable currency you own. It can build your life or destroy your progress. But once you take control of it, you stop living on mental autopilot. You stop feeding the patterns that hold you back. You stop giving energy to things that don't matter. Instead, you begin guiding your mind toward actions that strengthen you, choices that move you forward, and habits that support the person you want to become. The future you're building depends on what your attention nourishes, and when you consciously direct it instead of allowing it to drift, you begin shaping a life driven by purpose rather than distraction. A life where your energy is protected, your mind is clear, and your actions reflect the future you truly want to create.
Chapter 6. Understand your urges and respond with conscious decisions. Changing behavior starts with the simple yet powerful act of paying attention to what's happening inside of you. Every urge you feel, every impulse that rises, has a reason behind it. It's not just random noise or weakness. Understanding your urges begins with noticing them without judgment. It means pausing long enough to see what you are actually feeling, why it arises, and what it is trying to communicate. When a craving comes, a moment of awareness can make the difference between repeating an old pattern and choosing a new path. This is where conscious decision-making begins. The first step is always awareness. You have to see clearly what is happening inside your mind and body. You have to feel it fully without letting panic, shame, or frustration control your actions. Accept that urges are natural. They are part of being human. They do not make you weak. Resisting them blindly often creates more tension and increases their power. Instead, acknowledge the urge and recognize its presence. Say to yourself that this feeling is temporary, it is not permanent, and you can respond to it wisely. When you respond consciously, you take back your power. You stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the driver. This is where real change starts. Every time you notice an urge and choose your response intentionally, you are training your brain to behave differently. It is like exercising a muscle. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Old habits are strong because they were practiced often, but every conscious choice weakens the old pathway and strengthens a new one. You begin to create new neural connections that support better decisions, better habits, and better outcomes. It is not about perfection. It is about consistent effort. Small choices made repeatedly lead to profound transformation over time. You do not need to conquer all urges at once. Start with one, observe it, understand it. Decide how you will respond differently each time it appears. Maybe it is an urge to procrastinate. Instead of ignoring it, see it clearly. Ask yourself why it appears. Perhaps fear is behind it. Then respond by taking a small productive action immediately. The act of taking control, even in small ways, sends a signal to your brain that you are capable of change. Urges to eat, to react emotionally, to avoid responsibility, or to seek comfort all operate the same way. You identify them, understand the cause, and respond intentionally. Over time, this becomes your default. Conscious response becomes your habit. It is important to notice the triggers that precede these urges. Often, we are reacting to stress, boredom, or certain environments. When you understand what sparks the urge, you can prepare yourself ahead of time. Plan the response you will take, so you are not caught off guard. You build resilience by choosing your response before the urge demands it. Journaling can help with this process. Write down the urge, the situation that caused it, and the choice you made. Reflect on what worked and what didn't. This simple practice strengthens awareness and self-control. Physical actions can support your conscious decisions. Deep breathing, standing up, moving, or drinking water can interrupt automatic responses and create space for thoughtful action. Your body supports your mind when you involve it actively in managing urges. Emotions often drive urges, and emotions are temporary. Feeling anxiety, anger, or desire does not require immediate reaction. Notice the emotion fully and allow it to pass naturally. Respond from a place of observation rather than reaction. Celebrate each success, no matter how small. Choosing to respond consciously even once is a victory. These victories accumulate. They become proof that change is possible. You are not defined by past behavior. Each conscious decision chips away at old patterns and builds the life you want. Avoid self-criticism when you fail. Conscious decision-making is a skill, not a perfect trait. Learn from mistakes. Ask yourself what triggered the urge and what you could do differently next time. This reflection is an essential part of growth. Surround yourself with reminders of your goals and intentions. Visual cues, notes, or supportive people can reinforce conscious choices and keep you on track. Accountability strengthens your ability to act intentionally. Understand that self-discipline grows through practice. Every urge handled thoughtfully reinforces your ability to respond well in the future. Over time, this practice expands beyond the original behavior. You gain confidence in your ability to handle challenges, resist impulses, and create the life you desire. Your awareness and conscious decision-making ripple through every area of life. Practice self-compassion as you work through this process. Urges will arise, and some days you will fail. Treat yourself with kindness, acknowledge the effort you are making, and commit to continue. Change is not instantaneous, but consistent conscious action guarantees progress. Make your decisions based on long-term benefits, not short-term relief. Every time you choose wisely, you build momentum for lasting change. Visualize yourself responding to urges calmly and effectively. See the freedom that comes from being in control of your actions. This mental rehearsal strengthens your ability to respond in real moments. Build a system that supports your choices. Set up your environment to reduce triggers and increase positive cues. Habit stacking, reminders, and structured routines make conscious decision-making easier and more automatic over time. Share your goals and your process with trusted friends or mentors. Talking about urges and how you respond can provide insight. Motivation. Recognize the power of pause. Between an urge arising and your action lies a window of opportunity. Use that pause. Breathe. Reflect and choose deliberately. This pause is your tool for freedom. Over time, responding consciously becomes second nature. Your brain rewires itself to favor thoughtful action over automatic reaction. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Recognize that urges are opportunities, not threats. Each urge allows you to practice self-control and demonstrate your ability to shape your life. Embrace the challenge rather than resist it blindly. Keep a log of successes and near misses. Tracking your conscious responses reinforces learning and highlights patterns. This data empowers you to improve continuously, develop strategies for high-risk situations, anticipate scenarios where urges are strongest, and plan exactly how you will respond. Preparation strengthens resolve and reduces the chance of failure. Reinforce your motivation by connecting conscious decisions to personal value. When your choices align with what truly matters to you, you feel stronger and more committed. Trust your ability to choose. Each decision you make builds confidence in your capacity to control your behavior. Remember that change is a process. Progress comes from repeated conscious choices, not from one perfect moment. Celebrate persistence over perfection. Reflect on the emotional impact of conscious choices. Notice how each intentional action creates pride, satisfaction, and a sense of mastery. Let these feelings reinforce future behavior. Apply conscious decision-making to multiple areas of life.
Each successful response strengthens your overall ability to control impulses. In other contexts, your growth compounds as habits improve. Educate yourself about human behavior and psychology. Understanding why urges arise gives you clarity and power to respond effectively. Commit to long-term growth. Every conscious response is a brick in the foundation of the person you are becoming. Never underestimate the small win. The cumulative effect of intentional decisions transforms your identity and life. Surround yourself with environments, people and systems that reinforce conscious choices. Remove unnecessary temptations that challenge your resolve. Build resilience by taking small, deliberate actions daily. Your consistency creates a reliable structure for change. Embrace the journey with patience and persistence. Change requires time, attention, and repeated effort. Value every moment you spend practicing conscious response. Notice the difference between automatic reaction and deliberate choice. The more often you choose consciously, the stronger your self-control becomes. Challenge yourself progressively as you handle smaller urges effectively. Move to more difficult situations. Expand your ability to respond intentionally in every context. Understand that setbacks are part of growth. When an urge leads to a lapse, analyze it without judgment. Learn and prepare for next time. Engage fully with your life. When you are conscious of your urges and your decisions, you experience life more richly. Your awareness enhances every interaction, every goal pursued, and every achievement earned. Practice gratitude for the moments of success and the effort you invest. Recognize the courage it takes to respond intentionally to urges. Develop a long-term mindset. Focus on consistent conscious choices over months and years, rather than expecting overnight transformation. Anchor your conscious decisions in values and purpose. When your actions align with your deepest intentions, motivation becomes natural and sustainable. Integrate reflection, planning, and action. Each conscious decision is part of a broader cycle of awareness, evaluation, and improvement. Seek support when needed. Mentors, coaches, and friends provide guidance and encouragement that strengthens conscious response. Trust the process and your ability to adapt. Your capacity to respond intentionally grows as you practice, reflect, and adjust strategies. Notice the emotional and physical sensations connected to urges. Awareness of these cues enhances your control and decision-making. Commit to action before urges overwhelm you. Recognize early warning signs and respond proactively. Make conscious choices visible. Write them down, track progress, and reinforce commitment through accountability. Accept the difficulty of change. Urges will persist, but your conscious response improves with practice. Celebrate consistency and incremental progress. Recognize the power of repetition in forming lasting habits. Over time, intentional responses to urges create a resilient, empowered self. Your life transforms as a result of these conscious decisions. Every urge becomes a chance to demonstrate strength, self-control, and growth. The cumulative impact of handling urges consciously reshapes behavior, identity, and future opportunity. This process empowers you to live with purpose, clarity, and intentionality in every action you take.
Chapter 7. Build trust in yourself by keeping daily promises. Trust is not something you are born with. It is built slowly, deliberately, through actions and consistency. The first step to building trust in yourself is recognizing that every promise you make to yourself matters. These promises do not have to be monumental. They can be as simple as waking up on time, completing a small task, or committing to a healthy habit. What matters is that you honor them. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable, capable, and worthy of confidence. Breaking a promise to yourself, even a small one, chips away at self-respect and confidence. That erosion may feel minor at first, but over time it becomes a barrier to achieving anything meaningful. Building trust starts with awareness. Notice where you have made promises to yourself and whether you have kept them. Be honest without judgment. This clarity gives you the foundation to begin changing the way you act. Start small. Choose one promise today and follow through without excuses. Completing even the simplest commitment strengthens your internal reliability. Small, consistent victories compound. Waking up on time, drinking water regularly, or completing a single task builds momentum. Your brain begins to associate your intentions with action, creating a sense of power and integrity. Accountability yourself is not about punishment, it is about respect. You are setting a standard for how you operate in the world. If you cannot trust yourself with small things, it is difficult to trust yourself with larger goals. Set realistic promises. Avoid overcommitting or creating expectations that are impossible to meet. Trust grows when your promises are achievable and when you fulfill them consistently. Honesty with yourself matters. Acknowledge when you have failed to keep a promise and analyze why it happened. Understanding your obstacles allows you to adjust and improve without self-condemnation. Plan your day intentionally. Decide in advance what promises you will make to yourself and prioritize following through. Structure reduces the chance of neglecting commitments. Use reminders and cues to reinforce your promises. Written notes, alarms, or visual prompts act as anchors for your attention. Celebrate each success, no matter how small. Recognizing completion reinforces your ability to trust yourself and strengthens motivation for future actions. Build a habit of reflection. Each evening, review the promises you kept and those you did not. Analyze patterns and determine what adjustments are needed to improve. Avoid procrastination. Delaying action undermines trust in yourself. Act promptly and decisively on commitments to reinforce reliability. Surround yourself with environments that support your promises. Remove distractions, temptations, or influences that make it easier to break your commitments. Understand that trust is reinforced by repetition. The more often you honor a promise, the stronger your confidence becomes. Failures do not erase trust. They highlight areas for growth. Respond to failures with correction and renewed commitment. Do not make promises lightly. Only commit to what you genuinely intend to fulfill. Thoughtful promises build credibility with yourself. Align your promises with your values. When your commitments reflect what truly matters to you, following through becomes easier and more meaningful. Avoid external validation as the primary motivator. Trust in yourself comes from internal integrity, not from seeking approval from others. Recognize that every decision to honor a promise reinforces your identity. You are training your mind and character to be consistent, disciplined, and accountable. Daily routines are powerful tools. Integrate promises into your schedule, creating structured opportunities for completion and reinforcement. Monitor your emotional state. Trusting yourself requires self-awareness of moods, impulses, and distractions that may interfere with keeping promises. Develop strategies to maintain consistency during challenging moments. Visualization strengthens commitment. Imagine yourself fulfilling each promise and the sense of pride and reliability it produces. Mental rehearsal increases the likelihood of follow-through. Avoid relying solely on motivation. Motivation fluctuates. Trust is built through action, habit, and discipline, independent of temporary feelings. Accept that progress is gradual. Building self-trust takes time, patience, and repeated effort. Focus on consistency rather than speed. Recognize the ripple effect of keeping promises. Following through with small commitments improves confidence, decision-making, and resilience in other areas of life. Document your progress.
Recording completed promises and reflecting on them creates tangible evidence of reliability. Use this to reinforce self-belief. Learn to anticipate challenges. Identify moments when you are likely to break a promise and prepare strategies to overcome these situations. Practice self-compassion when mistakes occur. Treat yourself with understanding while committing to correct a lapse. Trust is reinforced when failures are met with reflection rather than harsh criticism. Hold yourself accountable gently but firmly. Respect your own standards and act consistently with them. Avoid comparing yourself to others. Trust in yourself is unique and grows at your own pace through your own commitments. Build layered promises. Start with simple actions, then add more complex or challenging commitments as reliability strengthens. Integrate your promises into multiple areas of life. Consistency across habits, work, and personal goals solidifies trust in yourself as a whole. Recognize the emotional impact of keeping promises. Completing commitments produces satisfaction, pride, and confidence that motivates further action. Use these feelings as fuel for continued growth. Avoid self-deception. Be honest about what you can realistically achieve and commit only to that. Dishonesty erodes trust more than failure itself. Seek external accountability if needed. Sharing your commitments with a trusted person can reinforce your internal motivation and provide support. Observe the long-term benefits. Every promise honored contributes to your credibility, effectiveness, and self-respect, creating a foundation for larger achievements. Understand that trust is dynamic. It requires ongoing attention and maintenance through continuous action. Avoid waiting for perfect circumstances. The best time to build trust in yourself is now. Act consistently regardless of conditions. Use obstacles as opportunities to strengthen. Resolve. When you succeed, despite challenges, your internal trust grows exponentially. Connect promises to meaningful outcomes. Knowing why a commitment matters deepens motivation and ensures persistence. Recognize the cumulative power of small actions. Consistently keeping small promises builds the confidence to tackle larger, more significant goals. Practice self-discipline as an expression of respect for yourself. Every completed promise reinforces that you are someone who can be counted on. Notice the patterns of previous failures. Learn from them and create strategies to prevent recurrence. Align actions with intention. Ensure that what you do matches what you say you will do. This alignment strengthens integrity and self-trust. Reward yourself thoughtfully for consistency. Positive reinforcement solidifies habits and reinforces commitment. Avoid reliance on fleeting willpower. Build routines and structures that naturally support keeping promises. Treat each day as an opportunity to practice trust. Consistency over time becomes unshakable confidence in your own reliability. Reflect on your progress regularly. Celebrate how far you have come and identify areas for improvement. Recognize that trust in yourself impacts all relationships. Reliability internally translates into trustworthiness externally. Commit fully to promises that align with your growth and value. Avoid overloading yourself with too many commitments. Quality and consistency are more important than quantity. Understand the link between self-trust and personal freedom. The more reliable you are with yourself, the more empowered you become to make choices that shape your life. Build mental resilience by keeping promises during difficult times. Each challenge overcome reinforces confidence in your abilities. Keep promises to yourself in both small and large matters. Each act accumulates to strengthen your sense of integrity. Notice the psychological benefits of self-trust. Increased confidence, reduced anxiety, and clearer decision-making follow consistent reliability. Practice patience. Self-trust grows gradually as repeated promises are fulfilled and internal standards are reinforced. Observe your inner dialogue. Replace doubt and self-criticism with affirmation and commitment to action. Recognize the importance of follow-through in every context. Reliability is built through consistent practice across all areas of life. Create a system to track promises and progress. This system reinforces discipline and accountability. Understand that building self-trust is the foundation for personal growth, success, and meaningful change. Every promise kept is a declaration of your ability to act with integrity and shape your life intentionally.
Chapter 8. Interrupt your old habits and create new supportive ones. Breaking old habits and building new ones starts with awareness. Every habit, whether helpful or harmful, follows a consistent pattern. Understanding that pattern is the first step toward change. Old habits are not failures, they are routines your brain has learned. Interrupting them requires observation and intentional action. Begin by identifying the exact behavior you want to change. Notice the situations, feelings, or triggers that lead to the habit. Awareness alone is powerful. When you can see clearly what initiates your old habits, you gain control over them. The next step is interruption. This is not about punishing yourself or relying solely on willpower. It is about inserting a deliberate pause between the trigger and your automatic response. That pause creates space to make a conscious choice. Physical actions can help interrupt patterns. Standing up, taking a deep breath, or shifting your environment disrupts automatic behavior. Even a small movement can reset your brain's habitual response. Pairing this interruption with reflection strengthens its effect. Ask yourself why you are engaging in this habit and what you could do differently. Recognize the reward the habit provides. Every habit serves a purpose, even if it is destructive. Identify healthier alternatives that deliver similar benefits. Replace old actions with new ones that align with your goals and values. Start small. Change does not happen in a single moment. Introduce simple, manageable actions that support the behavior you want to create. Consistency is more important than intensity. Over time, repeated actions establish new neural pathways in the brain. Old patterns weaken, and new routines take root. Create triggers for your new habits. Pairing a desired behavior with a specific cue or environment makes it easier to repeat. For example, drinking water after brushing your teeth or journaling at the start of your day. Positive reinforcement strengthens habit formation. Celebrate each successful interruption and replacement. The brain responds to acknowledgement and reward, making the new habit more likely to stick. Structure your environment to support change. Remove objects, situations, or cues that reinforce old habits. Surround yourself with reminders and tools that encourage new actions. Accountability enhances success. Share your goals with someone who can check in, support, and encourage your progress. Track your behavior to increase awareness and motivation. Journaling or using an app can help you notice patterns, successes, and areas needing adjustment. Expect challenges. Habits are deeply ingrained, and old behaviors will resurface. This is not failure, it is an opportunity to practice resilience and reinforcement. Plan strategies for high-risk moments. Anticipate when old habits are likely to appear, and decide in advance how you will respond differently. Visualization strengthens habit change. Mentally rehearse performing the new behavior and feeling the benefits. This prepares your brain for real-life action. Emotions play a role in habit persistence. Old routines often comfort, distract, or relieve stress. Acknowledge the emotional pull and find healthier ways to meet those needs. Gradual progression ensures lasting change. Introduce one new habit at a time. Focused effort produces stronger results than attempting multiple changes simultaneously. Monitor your inner dialogue. Replace self-doubt with affirmations of capability and commitment. The way you speak to yourself influences your consistency. Build rituals around new habits. Routines reinforce repetition and make actions automatic over time. Pair new behaviors with existing ones to leverage momentum. Understand that slip-ups are learning opportunity. Analyze what led to a lapse. Adjust strategies and continue. Avoid harsh self-criticism. Compassion paired with accountability encourages growth more than shame. Focus on identity change, not just behavior change. Ask yourself what type of person would naturally perform the new habit and embody that identity in your daily actions. Small wins compound. Each successful interruption and replacement strengthens confidence and motivates continued effort. Connect new habits to meaningful goals. When your actions are tied to personal values, motivation becomes intrinsic rather than external. Use timing strategically. Identify periods of the day when you are most susceptible to old habits and replace them with new supportive routines. Employ environmental cues. Seeing a journal, exercise equipment, or a healthy snack triggers behavior aligned with your new habits. Minimize reliance on willpower. Structure and planning reduce the need for constant effort and mental strain. Develop supportive routines around triggers and rewards. Habits become self-reinforcing when consistently linked to cues and positive outcomes. Engage your senses to reinforce new behaviors. Visual, tactile, and auditory reminders enhance learning and commitment. Build resilience by persisting through discomfort. Early stages of habit change often feel challenging, but perseverance strengthens mental and emotional control. Reflect regularly on progress. Notice improvements, acknowledge persistence, and refine strategies as needed. Combine habits into change. Linking multiple positive actions in sequence reinforces routines and creates momentum for further change. Avoid overwhelming yourself with drastic shifts. Incremental improvements produce sustainable transformation. Celebrate incremental victory. Recognition of even small successes reinforces new behavior and builds confidence. Observe patterns of relapse. Understanding when and why old habits resurface allows you to strengthen interventions and supports. Leverage social influence. Surround yourself with people who model and encourage the behaviors you want to adopt. Integrate mindfulness practices. Being present increases awareness of triggers and strengthens your capacity to choose consciously. Establish reminders of motivation. Visual cues, affirmations, or notes can help redirect attention when old habits arise. Track emotional responses to new habits. Positive emotions strengthen reinforcement, while awareness of discomfort guides adaptation. Adapt your approach as needed. Flexibility allows sustained progress in the face of changing circumstances. Recognize the power of repetition. Consistent action over time solidifies neural pathways and transforms temporary effort into automatic behavior. Use intentional pauses before habitual responses. Reflection during this window enables conscious choice and new action. Replace instant gratification behaviors with actions offering long-term benefits. Strengthening delayed gratification increases self-control and reinforces new habits. Build momentum through daily consistency. Small actions performed each day accumulate into substantial change. Connect new habits to personal values and life purpose. Alignment enhances motivation and commitment. Anticipate setbacks and prepare recovery strategies. Quick response to lapses prevents them from undermining overall progress. Cultivate patience. Meaningful habit change requires time, attention, and repeated effort. Recognize your identity as someone capable of transformation. Self-perception drives behavior change and reinforces commitment. Focus on process over outcome, emphasizing consistent practice rather than immediate perfection ensures sustainable progress. Engage actively with your environment. Adjust surroundings to support new habits and reduce friction. Reinforce learning through reflection and journaling. Documenting successes
Challenges and strategies strengthen self-awareness and adaptability. Celebrate persistence rather than perfection. Consistent effort matters more than flawless execution. Apply new habits across context. Transferable behaviors increase overall self-regulation and reinforce lifestyle change. Observe physical and emotional signals. Awareness of stress, boredom, or fatigue can predict habitual responses and enable proactive adjustments. Commit to incremental improvement. Focus on one change at a time to avoid overwhelm. Use strategic substitution. Replace undesired habits with specific actions that serve similar needs in healthier ways. Strengthen commitment by visualizing the benefits of new behaviors. Mental rehearsal enhances performance and consistency. Reinforce self-efficacy. Each successful interruption and replacement confirms your ability to shape behavior intentionally. Recognize that the brain adapts to repeated patterns. Consistent new actions overwrite old routines over time. Maintain a positive mindset. Optimism enhances resilience, focus, and motivation during habit change. Create structured plans with clear steps and outcomes. Planning reduces uncertainty and increases follow-through. Utilize tracking tools. Measuring progress reinforces accountability and provides motivation. Build supportive systems. Align your environment, routines, and social connections to encourage sustained habits. Engage in self-reflection. Understanding triggers, responses, and outcomes. Inform strategic adjustments. Recognize the emotional rewards of new habits. Positive feelings reinforce commitment and increase likelihood of repetition. Avoid excessive reliance on self-control alone. Design systems that make correct actions easier and automatic. Commit to consistency over intensity. Steady progress creates lasting transformation and reinforces self-trust. Accept the iterative nature of change. Continuous adjustment and learning ensure sustained improvement. Apply conscious attention to habitual moments. Mindfulness enables recognition and alteration of automatic responses. Reinforce new habits with repeated practice, feedback, and reflection. Over time, intentional actions become natural routines that define behavior, identity, and long-term success.
Chapter 9. Push your mind to act even when motivation fades. Motivation is not always present. Some days you will feel energized and ready to take action. Other days you will feel drained, distracted, or unmotivated. Success does not wait for perfect motivation. Real progress happens when you act regardless of how you feel. Pushing your mind to act when motivation fades requires discipline, awareness, and a clear understanding of why you are doing what you do. Start by identifying the tasks and actions that are essential to your growth. These are non-negotiable steps toward your goals. When motivation is high, acting feels easy. When motivation is low, these same actions can feel heavy or burdensome. This is the moment where your character is built. Understand that waiting for feelings to align with your goals is a trap. Feelings are temporary and unpredictable. Your behavior is within your control. Begin with a simple principle: commitment over mood. Decide in advance what you will do and follow through regardless of temporary emotions. This is how self-discipline develops. Small, consistent actions are the foundation. You do not need to start with grand efforts. Doing something small every day, even when you do not feel like it, strengthens your ability to act. Over time, these small acts compound into significant progress. Break tasks into manageable steps. Large tasks can feel overwhelming and erode motivation. Focus on one clear, actionable step at a time. Taking that first step is often enough to trigger momentum and overcome inertia. Understand your why, know the reason behind your actions, and connect it to something meaningful. Purpose fuels persistence when emotions falter. Prepare for moments when energy or desire is low. Anticipate obstacles and create strategies to overcome them. Planning reduces the friction that can derail your efforts. Structure your environment to support action. Remove distractions, reduce temptations, and create cues that prompt behavior automatically. Physical action supports mental commitment. Moving your body, changing your surroundings, or performing a ritual signals your mind to begin work even before motivation returns. Use the principle of starting before you feel ready. Often, beginning an action generates energy and engagement. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Train your mind to separate action from feeling. Recognize that waiting to feel inspired is waiting for chance. Take control by acting first. Reward progress immediately, even in small ways. Positive reinforcement strengthens the connection between effort and satisfaction. Accountability strengthens consistency. Share commitments with someone who will check in, encourage, and support persistence. Visualize completion and the benefits of your work. Seeing the outcome creates mental energy that smottaments dwindling motivation. Focus on the next actionable step rather than the entire journey. Breaking the process into small, controllable units makes action more achievable. Embrace the discomfort of low motivation. Recognize that struggle is temporary, but the results of persistent action are lasting. Practice self-talk that encourages movement. Replace excuses with statements of commitment and capability. Understand the rhythm of energy. Motivation fluctuates naturally, but disciplined behavior produces results consistently. Avoid reliance on fleeting feelings. Build routines that enforce action, regardless of internal state. Habits are the bridge between low motivation and consistent performance. Use deadlines and time limits to force action. External constraints can prompt behavior when internal drive wanes. Track your progress. Seeing tangible evidence of work completed reinforces confidence and persistence. Engage your senses to anchor behavior. Listening to music, adjusting lighting, or other sensory cues can signal readiness and support focus. Commit publicly when appropriate. Sharing intentions increases accountability and strengthens resolve. Visualize the discomfort of inaction and contrast it with the satisfaction of completing the task. This creates a mental push toward action. Develop rituals that precede work. Rituals condition your mind to begin regardless of motivation. Over time, the brain associates the routine with action automatically. Recognize and challenge internal excuses. Thoughts like "I don't feel like it" are temporary impulses, not commands. Respond with deliberate choice. Break large goals into time-bound intervals. Working in short, focused periods creates momentum even when energy is low. Celebrate completion of any action, regardless of size. Each effort reinforces capability and strengthens confidence. Observe patterns in your behavior. Identify times when motivation typically fades and proactively plan responses. Prepare contingency strategies for unexpected obstacles. Flexibility ensures that action continues even when conditions are not ideal. Incorporate physical movement or activity to boost energy. Body engagement often triggers mental activation and focus. Focus on consistency rather than intensity. Small regular actions outpace sporadic bursts, fueled only by motivation. Reflect on past instances when action, despite low motivation, led to result. Internalizing these experiences strengthens belief in your capacity. Break tasks into micro-actions. Completing even the tiniest step often generates momentum to continue. Engage deeply with purpose. Remind yourself why the work matters and connect it to meaningful goals. Establish external reminders and cues. Notes, alarms, or visible prompts help maintain action when internal drive fades. Use mental contrasting. Imagine the challenge and the desired outcome to strengthen resolve and guide action.
Practice self-compassion when motivation is low. Acknowledge difficulty, but continue moving forward. Build mental toughness gradually. Each act of pushing yourself despite fatigue or low desire strengthens resilience. Avoid overthinking. Overanalyzing reduces energy and increases hesitation. Focus on starting, not perfecting. Develop a sequence of triggers and behaviors that automatically initiate action. The mind responds to structured patterns, even when feelings lag. Observe emotional states without attachment. Recognize fleeting feelings, but do not let them dictate behavior. Celebrate streaks of consistent action. Recognizing patterns of persistence reinforces identity as someone who acts regardless of mood. Learn to start before inspiration. Action itself generates engagement, energy, and focus. Integrate support systems. Surround yourself with people, tools, and reminders that encourage consistent action. Recognize that motivation is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. Action creates drive, clarity, and momentum. Plan recovery strategies. When energy and motivation are low, know the next steps to maintain momentum. Commit to visible progress, tangible results. Even small, reinforce effort and strengthen future action. Avoid perfectionism. Waiting for optimal conditions or perfect readiness delays. Progress indefinitely. Develop cues that signal the beginning of work. These cues become automatic triggers that bypass the need for motivation. Leverage short bursts of action. Even 5 minutes of focused effort can overcome inertia and generate energy to continue. Focus on controllable aspects. Concentrate on what you can do rather than obstacles or discomfort. Reinforce identity through action. Acting when unmotivated strengthens your self-image as disciplined and capable. Recognize the transient nature of feelings. Low motivation is temporary. Consistent behavior produces lasting outcomes. Build chains of micro-action. Sequential small steps maintain progress and create habit formation, even in challenging moments. Apply deliberate scheduling. Pre-planned action windows reduce reliance on fluctuating internal energy. Track and celebrate completion. Each successful act reinforces belief in your capacity to act, despite difficulty. Practice gratitude for progress. Recognizing even modest achievements fuels perseverance and strengthens mindset. Visualize challenges as temporary. Maintaining perspective allows continued action without discouragement. Prioritize essential tasks. Focus energy on actions that have the greatest impact when motivation is weak. Incorporate environmental supports. Design surroundings that naturally encourage movement, focus, and task completion. Use mental cues and affirmations. Remind yourself of capability and commitment before beginning action. Develop flexibility in approach. Adapt strategies as needed without abandoning the commitment to act. Engage in mental rehearsal. Imagining starting and completing tasks primes the brain to act. Monitor energy levels and adjust methods. Recognize patterns and implement techniques to maintain performance. Apply intentional breaks. Short pauses can renew ROSE and support continued action. Avoid waiting for inspiration. Rely on planning, structure, and habit to initiate activity. Strengthen intrinsic motivation. Connect actions to personal values and meaningful goals for deeper engagement. Recognize the compound effect of consistent effort. Each act of persistence multiplies results over time. Build mental resilience through repeated practice. Repeated action, despite fatigue or disinterest, strengthens character. Focus on immediate action. Worrying about future difficulty drains energy. Begin now. Integrate reward system. Small incentives maintain engagement when natural motivation wanes. Reflect regularly. Evaluate what strategies work best for maintaining action and refine them. Embrace discomfort. Acting without motivation is rarely easy, but consistently produces growth. Understand that action creates momentum. Movement generates clarity, energy, and renewed commitment. Build layered habits. Use small actions to reinforce larger patterns of consistent behavior. Use sensory cues to trigger engagement. Visual, auditory, or tactile prompts encourage initiation. Reinforce self-efficacy. Each completed task under low motivation strengthens belief in ability. Practice daily. Consistency. Repetition trains the mind and body to act reliably, regardless of feelings. Focus on progress, rather than perfection. Completion matters more than flawless execution. Develop strategies for high-resistance moments. Anticipate difficulty and prepare actions to ensure persistence. Engage fully in the process. Concentrated attention strengthens outcomes and reinforces self-discipline. Recognize the psychological impact of action. Each decision to move despite low motivation builds confidence, resilience, and self-trust. Commit to a long-term mindset. Sustainable results are produced by repeated action over time, not sporadic bursts. Leverage accountability. Share goals and progress to reinforce continued effort. Celebrate every effort. Even minor actions under low motivation deserve recognition. Build mental frameworks that prioritize action over feeling. Conditioning the mind ensures behavior continues when emotions fluctuate. Focus on controllable steps. Concentrate on immediate actionable choices rather than waiting for perfect circumstances. Strengthen routines. Consistent daily patterns reduce reliance on variable motivation. Incorporate reflection, adaptation, and planning. Evaluate successes and challenges to optimize strategy. Recognize that persistence trumps motivation. Long-term results are achieved by repeated, disciplined action, regardless of mood. Act decisively. The moment to act is now. Delay is the enemy of progress. Understand that consistent behavior shapes identity, reinforces self-trust, and drives results. The habit of action produces success regardless of internal states.
Chapter 10. Reflect on your day and adjust your next behavior. Taking time to reflect on your day is one of the most powerful habits you can develop for personal growth. Reflection allows you to see clearly what worked, what didn't, and how you can adjust your behavior moving forward. The first step is creating a consistent practice at the end of each day to pause and examine your actions. Find a quiet moment where you can focus without distractions. Look honestly at what you accomplished and where you fell short. Be gentle with yourself, but don't shy away from truth. Reflection is not about judgment, it is about awareness. Ask yourself questions like what decisions supported my goals today and what actions held me back. Consider the moments when you acted intentionally and the moments when old habits or impulses took over. By noticing patterns, you gain insight into the triggers and behaviors that shape your day. Journaling is a powerful tool for this process. Writing down your reflections clarifies your thoughts, reveals recurring challenges, and allows you to track growth over time. Document successes, failures, and emotional responses. Seeing the details in black and white helps your mind process experiences more fully. Focus on both actions and outcomes. Did the effort you made lead to the result you wanted? If not, analyze why and what can be improved tomorrow. Pay attention to small behaviors. Tiny, consistent choices often have a greater cumulative effect than one large action. Reflecting on these smaller moments helps you identify opportunities for daily improvement. Emotional awareness is key. Notice what feelings influenced your decisions, whether frustration, fear, excitement, or fatigue. Understanding the role of emotion allows you to respond differently in the future. Ask yourself how you can adjust tomorrow's behavior based on today's reflection. Identify at least one concrete action to improve. Small intentional changes compound over time and create meaningful transformation. Avoid dwelling on mistakes excessively. Reflection is about learning, not punishment. Acknowledge missteps, understand the cause, and plan corrective action. Celebrate accomplishments, no matter how minor. Recognizing achievements reinforces positive behavior and boosts motivation. Consider the context of your actions. Were environmental factors, people or circumstances influencing your behavior? Understanding context helps you anticipate challenges and design strategies for success. Examine your goals and align reflection with your long-term vision. Daily reflection connects short-term actions with broader objectives, ensuring progress is meaningful. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. How you act each day shapes habits, mindset, and long-term results. Reflection allows you to reinforce effective behaviors and adjust ineffective ones. Develop a system for reflection. This could be a journal, checklist, or structured set of questions. Consistency ensures you create actionable insights daily. Engage fully with the details of your day. The more precise your reflection, the clearer the path for improvement. Be honest about what distracted you or prevented optimal action. Avoid excuses, but acknowledge legitimate obstacles. Learn to distinguish between factors within your control and those outside it. Focus primarily on what you can change, because this is where growth occurs. Notice your energy and focus levels throughout the day. Understanding your natural rhythms allows you to plan better behaviors and actions in the future. Consider the quality of your decisions. Did you respond intentionally or reactively in critical moments? Reflection highlights opportunities to strengthen self-control and awareness. Set specific intentions for the next day based on your review. Clear intentions guide behavior and reduce the chance of repeating unhelpful patterns. Recognize the power of incremental improvement. Even small adjustments made consistently lead to meaningful change over time. Analyze patterns in setbacks. Recurrent challenges reveal underlying habits or mindsets that need attention. Reflection is most valuable when paired with action. Insights without follow-through remain theoretical. Determine a concrete plan to adjust tomorrow's behavior based on what you've learned. Include both corrective actions and strategies to reinforce positive behaviors. Prioritize adjustments that will have the greatest impact. Focus on changes that are actionable and sustainable. Practice self-compassion throughout reflection. Understand that growth is a gradual process, and each day provides a new opportunity to improve. Track progress over weeks and months. Seeing trends over time reinforces learning and provides motivation to continue refining your behavior. Notice how your thoughts, feelings, and actions interact. Awareness of this dynamic allows for better control and intentional decision-making. Evaluate how your environment affected your behavior. Did certain spaces, people, or routines support or hinder your actions? Adjust surroundings to align with desired behavior. Reflect on interpersonal interactions. How did communication, collaboration, or conflict influence your behavior? Use insights to improve relationships and social effectiveness. Consider the balance between effort and rest. Overworking or under-resting affects decision-making, focus, and self-control. Plan to manage energy more effectively tomorrow. Assess how you managed time and attention. Where priorities aligned with your values and goals. Identify adjustments to improve focus and efficiency. Reflect on your emotional responses to challenges. Did you react impulsively or with thoughtfulness? Decide how to respond differently next time. Use reflection to cultivate resilience. Recognize how you adapted to difficulties and identify ways to strengthen coping strategy. Ask yourself what habits were reinforced today. Identify which routines supported growth and which need modification. Plan to reinforce positive habits and reduce unproductive ones. Recognize triggers for unhelpful behavior. Awareness allows proactive adjustments to avoid repeating patterns. Incorporate gratitude into reflection. Acknowledging small wins and positive experiences strengthens mindset and motivation. Reflect on learning opportunities. Each day offers lessons about behavior, choices, and mindset. Identify key takeaways to guide future action. Consider the alignment between daily behavior and long-term vision. Adjust actions to ensure consistency with values and goals. Use reflection to strengthen self-discipline. Awareness of gaps between intention and behavior motivates corrective action. Evaluate your problem-solving and decision-making strategies. Adjust approaches to enhance effectiveness and efficiency. Reflect on how well you manage distractions. Plan strategies to minimize them tomorrow. Assess risk-taking and courage in your action. Determine opportunities to act boldly in alignment with goals. Evaluate resource management, including time, energy, and attention. Adjust strategies to optimize performance. Reflect on communication patterns. Consider ways to express thoughts, needs, and intentions more effectively. Evaluate emotional regulation. Recognize moments when you maintained control or when impulses took over. Adjust strategies to strengthen self-regulation. Reflect on learning application. Did knowledge or skills acquired today translate into meaningful action? Plan improvements for tomorrow. Identify areas where consistency faltered. Determine ways to maintain reliability and trust in yourself. Reflect on self-motivation. Note moments when you pushed yourself versus when you relied on external motivation. Plan ways to strengthen internal drive. Evaluate collaboration and teamwork. Assess how effectively you contributed and how relationships can be enhanced. Reflect on problem areas without self-criticism. Focus on understanding, learning, and future adjustment. Plan for intentional pauses, breaks, and recovery. Balance between action and rest supports sustainable growth. Notice how adaptability was exercised. Reflect on moments of flexibility or rigidity and adjust future behavior accordingly. Evaluate attention to detail. Identify areas to maintain or improve focus. Reflect on alignment between actions and value. Adjusts decisions to ensure integrity and consistency. Consider innovation and creativity. Note when new approaches were successful or when routine limited potential. Plan ways to incorporate flexibility and creativity tomorrow. Reflect on risk management. Identify decisions that balanced caution and opportunity effectively. Adjust strategies to improve judgment. Assess goal progression. Determine which actions moved objectives forward and where additional effort is needed. Reflect on communication effectiveness. Note how listening, speaking, and nonverbal cues influenced outcomes. Plan improvements. Consider emotional impact on others. Reflect on empathy, patience, and influence. Adjust future interactions accordingly. Evaluate time allocation. Identify tasks that consume too much or too little time and adjust planning. Reflect on decision quality. Did choices today reflect thoughtful consideration and alignment with priorities? Adjust for better judgment. Assess self-discipline. Note moments of perseverance and moments of avoidance. Strengthen strategies to maintain consistent effort. Reflect on adaptability to unexpected events. Plan for greater flexibility and preparedness tomorrow. Consider the influence of habits. Identify which routines supported or hindered progress and plan adjustment. Reflect on learning from failures. Extract lessons. Create corrective actions and implement improvements. Evaluate confidence and self-belief. Note moments of certainty and doubt. Plan to reinforce self-assurance. Reflect on emotional resilience. Identify strategies that supported calm and composure and plan enhancements. Evaluate collaboration and support-seeking behavior. Plan to improve networking and resource utilization. Assess alignment of daily activities with priorities. Adjust schedules to focus on high-impact tasks. Reflect on personal energy management. Identify strategies to maintain focus, motivation, and stamina. Consider mental clarity.
reflect on decision-making, focus and prioritization, adjust routines to strengthen cognitive performance, review ethical and moral alignment, ensure daily behavior reflects integrity and values, plan corrective actions if needed, reflect on self-improvement progress, note measurable growth and areas needing attention, adjust strategies for continuous advancement, consider emotional intelligence, reflect on awareness, regulation, and interpersonal skills, plan targeted improvements, assess creativity and problem solving, identify opportunities to approach challenges more effectively tomorrow, reflect on stress management, evaluate coping strategies and plan improvements for resilience, observe patterns of procrastination, identify triggers and plan proactive responses, reflect on adaptability to change, strengthen readiness for unexpected situations, assess learning application, note whether acquired knowledge translated into effective action, plan practical application for tomorrow, reflect on decision-making under pressure, identify areas to maintain or improve clarity and composure, evaluate goal prioritization, ensure actions, focus on most important objectives, adjust daily plan accordingly, reflect on personal boundaries, note success or failure in maintaining limits, plan adjustments to protect focus and energy, consider relationship dynamics, reflect on interactions, communication, and influence, identify areas for growth tomorrow, reflect on consistency of habits, recognize routines that support or hinder objectives, adjust accordingly, observe emotional triggers, plan strategies to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, reflect on motivation levels, identify internal and external factors influencing drive, adjust actions to maintain engagement, consider self-care practices, reflect on physical and mental well-being, and plan improvements, evaluate efficiency in task execution, identify bottlenecks and areas for improvement, plan for optimized performance, reflect on learning mindset, note curiosity, openness and receptiveness to new ideas, strengthen commitment to growth, assess problem-solving efficiency, identify opportunities to enhance analytical and practical approaches, reflect on balance between work and personal life, plan adjustments to maintain health, relationships and performance, evaluate resilience in adversity, note responses to challenges and plan strategies for strengthening perseverance, reflect on self-awareness, identify insights about thoughts, emotions and behaviors, plan actions to enhance understanding, observe opportunities for incremental improvement, plan small adjustments to create measurable progress tomorrow, reflect on confidence in decision-making, note moments of hesitation or assertiveness, adjust approach to reinforce clarity and courage, assess focus and attention management, identify distractions and plan strategies for improvement, reflect on adaptability in planning, evaluate flexibility and responsiveness to unexpected changes, plan for better adjustment tomorrow, review emotional regulation, identify triggers for frustration, impatience or anxiety, plan coping strategies, reflect on personal accountability, recognize areas where responsibility was embraced or avoided, strengthen commitment to ownership, observe interaction quality, reflect on communication effectiveness, influence and collaboration, plan enhancements, reflect on internal dialogue, identify supportive or limiting self-talk, plan positive reinforcement, evaluate planning effectiveness, determine whether daily plans supported objective, adjust future planning strategies, reflect on learning integration, assess whether knowledge was applied practically, plan improvements, observe decision alignment with values, adjust actions to ensure consistency with principles, reflect on mental and physical energy usage, plan adjustments to maintain optimal performance, evaluate risk assessment, note quality of judgments and decisions, Adjust strategies for better outcomes. Reflect on emotional intelligence in interactions. Strengthen empathy, listening, and influence. Observe behavioral patterns. Identify repetitions that support or hinder goals. Plan corrective actions. Evaluate creativity and innovation. Note application of new ideas. Plan to foster creative problem-solving tomorrow. Reflect on self-trust. Identify moments when confidence-guided action or hesitation prevail. Plan to strengthen self-reliance. Assess effectiveness of daily routines. Identify areas to improve consistency and efficiency. Plan adjustments. Reflect on long-term goal alignment. Ensure actions today move you closer to broader objectives. Evaluate stress management. Note coping strategies and plan improvements. Reflect on learning from feedback. Identify insights and plan application tomorrow. Assess persistence and perseverance. Plan ways to maintain consistent effort despite challenges. Reflect on relationship building. Evaluate quality of connections and plan improvements. Evaluate time management. Identify inefficiencies and create strategies for better utilization tomorrow. Reflect on self-improvement strategies. Adjust methods for continuous development. Evaluate decision-making efficiency. Plan to enhance clarity, speed, and effectiveness. Reflect on problem-solving approaches. Identify areas for refinement and adaptation. Evaluate focus and attention. Adjust strategies for optimal engagement. Reflect on emotional responses. Plan strategies for stability and composure. Assess progress toward personal and professional goals. Adjust daily actions to maintain alignment. Reflect on actions taken versus intentions. Plan strategies to close any gaps tomorrow. Evaluate effectiveness of communication and collaboration. Adjust approaches to improve outcome. Reflect on the alignment of behavior with personal values. Make corrections to maintain integrity and purpose. Assess mental clarity and focus. Identify distractions and plan mitigation strategies. Reflect on energy management and productivity. Adjust routines for better stamina and performance. Evaluate learning opportunities. Plan actionable application for skill growth. Reflect on challenges faced. Determine strategies to overcome similar obstacles tomorrow. Assess self-regulation and discipline. Plan methods to strengthen consistency. Reflect on gratitude and acknowledgement of achievements. Reinforce positive mindset for ongoing motivation. Evaluate adaptability and flexibility. Plan strategies to respond effectively to change. Reflect on daily priorities. Adjust focus to maintain alignment with long-term objectives. Assess planning and execution effectiveness. Implement improvements for tomorrow's performance. Reflect on goal achievement. Identify steps required to continue progress. Evaluate personal growth. Plan actionable measures for ongoing development. Reflect on emotional intelligence. Adjust behavior to enhance understanding and influence. Assess the balance between action and reflection. Plan methods to maintain effective equilibrium. Evaluate consistency in habit practice. Implement strategies to strengthen reliability. Reflect on decision-making outcome. Adjust future actions for better results. Assess efficiency and productivity. Plan enhancements to optimize daily performance. Reflect on challenges and successes. Identify lessons learned and apply them. Evaluate motivation and drive. Plan strategies to sustain engagement tomorrow. Reflect on learning application. Ensure knowledge translates into meaningful action. Assess alignment with personal and professional goals. Adjust priorities as needed. Reflect on overall progress. Recognize achievements and plan next steps for improvement.